3 in the afternoon, we had something happen that we never would wish on anyone. The Texas Department of Public Safety made an initial traffic stop at about 3:15 on I-20 yesterday afternoon, and their trooper was shot during that traffic stop. Our subject then proceeded into the city of Odessa, and over a period of time created several more victims. Initially, it was thought that there may have been multiple shooters, and that is because at some point this subject changed vehicles. We are now confident that there was just the one actor. This is an ongoing investigation. It is active. There are still multiple crime scenes that are being worked. There are no definitive answers as to motive or reasons at this point. But we are fairly certain that this subject did act alone. You'll notice that I'm not naming this subject, and there's a reason for that. I refuse to. I'm not going to give him any notoriety for what he did. We'll provide that information to you, but not in this public stage. As we stand, 22 people are injured, 3 of them law enforcement. Very, very sadly, 7 people have been killed, 7 of our citizens. Those 7 victims have ranged in ages from 15 years to 57. Very sincerely, I say to those families, I offer my apologies and my condolences. My heart aches for all of you. I ask the city of Odessa, the state of Texas, and the nation to please lift up your hearts and send us your prayers. I thank everyone who has already done that. There has been a tremendous outpouring. Just to the local audience, please, with your show of support, you're going to the crime scenes and you're dropping off food and water, and that is much appreciated, but it is also hindering the investigation. So please, if we could stop that and just bring that stuff to a central location here at UTPB would be great. Also want to thank all the support we've gotten from other local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies. The outpouring of resources has been amazing. The cooperation while this incident was ongoing was amazing. Please understand this is a different type of active shooter that we were involved with because he was mobile. And that creates some very special type of issues. So my thanks go out to our brothers and sisters in Midland with the Ector County Sheriff's Office and the Midland County Sheriff's Office and the University of Texas Police Department and the Ector County Independent School District Police Department. And I could sit here all day and name those agencies, those local agencies and state agencies that helped out, and my heart is just filled with gratitude to each and every one of those professionals. So, to close out, I would invite everyone, the community, to join us here this evening at UTPB for our prayer vigil, which will start at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Well, Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
We're proud of you. As you all know, the lives of the people of Odessa and the entire Permian Basin region have been shattered over the past 24 hours. Hearts have been broken. We want people of the Permian Basin to know that all of Texans stand with you and embrace you at this time of challenge. We are here today, and we'll be here every day until this community is pieced back together. But we know that words alone are inadequate. Words must be met with action. I want to thank the police chief for his tireless efforts over the past 24 hours in the robust and heroic response that he and his fellow law enforcement agencies and officers utilized to bring the gunman down and to quickly de-escalate the challenge and to literally save lives that could have been lost had it not been for the action of the collaborative effort by law enforcement. Along those lines, we cannot thank enough all of the first responders from all of the law enforcement agencies involved in this process to ensure that they were going to be able to do what was necessary to restore safety in this community. As governor, I particularly want to thank the Texas Department of Public Safety for what they did. We talk about this all the time, and that is, there is no such thing as a routine stop. The way all this began yesterday was with what would be categorized as a routine stop by the Texas Department of Public Safety, only for that stop to immediately escalate into gunfire by this killer, with a DPS officer being injured in the process. So I appreciate the way that the Texas Department of Public Safety steps up every single day, always prepared, knowing that their lives are on the line any stop they make, ensuring safety in our communities across the state. I also want to express my gratitude to the incredible healthcare providers in this region. They had to deal with probably what was their most challenging day ever, and they stepped up with collective calm and poise to make sure that they were able to heal the wounded as quickly as possible. I want to express my deepest sorrow for the families who have lost a loved one and for all the victims who have been wounded. The hurt you feel is incalculable. But you must hold on to the hope that you can also have. And we're seeing this already with the family of one of the victims. Some of you know that one of the victims is a 17-month-old child. And moments before coming in here, I received a text from the mother of this 17-month-old. Now, I want to read you the text of what this mother wrote. She said, quote, "Thank you all for praying. This is all of our worst nightmare. But thank God she's alive and relatively well." She goes on to say that toddlers are funny because they can get shot but still want to run around and play. She says that we are thanking God for that. Her mouth is pretty bad, but will heal and can be fixed. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like her jaw was hit, just lip, teeth, and tongue. She is having surgery tomorrow to remove the shrapnel from her chest and to fix her lip and mouth and to get a better look at her tongue. We are thanking God for healing her and appreciate continued prayers. Well, I want her family to know that they can be assured of those prayers today, tomorrow, and every day as that young child continues her pathway to healing. Let me say this. I have been to too many of these events. As governor, the first one I went to was after the shooting in downtown Dallas that killed police officers as well as others. Then there was Sutherland Springs, where 26 people were killed. Then there was Santa Fe High School, where 10 people were killed. And then less than a month ago, There was a shooting in El Paso. Well, I'm heartbroken by the crying of the people of the state of Texas. I'm tired of the dying of the people of the state of Texas. Too many Texans are in mourning. Too many Texans have lost their lives. The status quo in Texas is unacceptable, and action is needed. After the shooting at Santa Fe High School, I signed more than 15 laws to make our schools safer from shooting attacks. In the immediate aftermath of the shooting in El Paso, I've worked with the Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker as well as legislators. I've also worked with the victims as well as advocacy groups. We have been working on drafting solutions that can be taken by legislators as well as solutions that can be taken by the governor and the executive branch in Texas. Solutions that address racist hate attacks like what happened in El Paso. Solutions that will address keeping our community safer. Now, in the aftermath of this shooting and the unique aspects of this shooting, we must broaden our efforts to address the tragedy that has befallen Odessa, and we must do so quickly. We need solutions that will keep guns out of the hands of criminals like the killer here in Odessa, while also ensuring that we safeguard Second Amendment rights. And we must do it fast. Most of all, in the aftermath of what happened here in Odessa, we must replicate what we have seen in El Paso, Sutherland Springs, Santa Fe, and in Dallas. And that is, we must do what Texans do best. In times of tragedy, we unite. We come together. We support each other. We reinvigorate our community with the love that we have for one another. And knowing the Permian Basin the way that I do, I know that is exactly what's going to happen here in Odessa, in Midland, in the entire region. So thank you all as a community for what you will be doing to helping each other. And thank you to the heroic law enforcement officers and first responders for everything that you've already done.
Well, as we continue with this press conference, first I'd like to echo and applaud the governor for all the work he's doing in trying to bring a lot of attention, needed attention, overdue attention onto the active shooter. Scenes that we unfortunately work and having to respond to. As a regional director over the West Texas region, having to work 2 active shooter scenes in a matter of 28 days is unheard of in this, especially all in the West Texas region. So when we have things like this, incidents like this, it's important that we reach out to our partners, and we all, as you can see, those behind me and those on the table with me, we can't do it alone. And it's important that we continue to focus unified and collaboratively in fighting helping the governor fight the fight, and we'll continue to do so. Just want to give an update on our trooper that was shot yesterday. The grace of God that he survived the shooting. He went through a couple of hours surgery yesterday, and the doctors left there very optimistic that he will have a recovery, a full recovery after obviously a road ahead of some rehabilitation, but he will be fine. At the onset of this call, we had troopers, as you know, who not only stopped the suspect, we had many in the arena helping Odessa PD, and we brought in all the resources we have available, not only on law enforcement, but also on our non-commissioned side. Victims counselors are working behind the scenes with the Odessa Police Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigation as well, ensuring that those families that are suffering the losses are definitely educated and compensated as the law allows. And thanks to the governor and the Office of Attorney General, we'll make sure that all monies are made available to the families and to help them in the road recovery. Thank you.
Along those lines, I want to emphasize one thing. First is gratitude to the legislators from this region who can be very helpful in the effort of making sure that the victims and others get the resources they need. They're behind me, and I want to recognize the senator from this region, which is Senator Kel Seliger, and the House of Representatives member Brooks Landgraf, as well as regional representative senators, Senator Perry and Representative Craddock. They can all be extremely helpful in working with local families and local communities and local schools, as well as the healthcare providers, in providing information to us at the state level. So I urge you to be active in the next day, weeks, and months to come, in working with these representatives and senators to make sure that all of your needs are raised and addressed. With that, we'll pass it over to the federal official involved.
Hello, my name is Christopher Combs. I'm the FBI Special Agent in charge. First, I want to commend the local law enforcement effort and the state effort here. There is no question that these are the true heroes. In the midst of a man driving down the highway shooting at people, local law enforcement and state troopers pursued him and stopped him from possibly going into a crowded movie theater and having another event of mass violence. I think that's the story of law enforcement that should be conveyed, of how heroic the chief's men and women are. So I want to commend them on that. The FBI is here, as we are now, almost every other week, supporting our state and local partners on an active shooter. We are now at every 2 weeks, almost every 2 weeks, an active shooter in this country. The FBI responds to them all to support our state and local partners. Here in Odessa, we have 130 FBI personnel supporting the chief, with help also from DEA and ATF and the Postal Service. There's another 45 federal agents here. So I have pledged all the federal law enforcement to support the chief and the commander, that we can help them on this. I know your questions are probably, is there a connection to terrorism in this? At this point, I can tell you we do not believe that there is any connection to any domestic or international terrorism. But we are still working through that. We're conducting searches at this exact moment in time to make sure that there is nobody else even possibly connected with this. I support the chief's announcement. We do believe this is a single shooter. This was not a multi-shooter event. We have worked very closely in the past with DPS and the Texas Rangers. In fact, the very same team that worked at the Sutherland Springs mass shooting is the team that's here from the Rangers, along with the FBI team that did that crime scene as well. So the connection between the FBI, the DPS, Odessa Police is built on unfortunate experience of working together. But we are all working together to make sure that this community is as safe as it possibly can be. And we will be here for the duration of the time that the chief needs our services. And unfortunately, we will then get ready to go to the next active shooter, which is an unfortunate statement to make, but it seems like that's what we do. We respond to one after another of these horrible events. And we will always be here to support our local partners and help them through these horrible tragedies that we've seen here in Texas and across the country. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. A few questions.
Chief, could I ask you, do you believe that the gunman was going to go at theater? Is that your belief?
You know, there's no way of absolutely knowing that, but it begs the question, why go to the theater if you're not planning on entering the theater? And please understand that on a Saturday afternoon in Odessa, Texas, that is one of the most crowded places to be.
Do you know what his initial motive was when he saw that video pop up?
I do not. At this point, we do not.
Is there any reason to believe that this could have been a planned attack?
Again, the investigation is still ongoing, and there's a lot of questions that we just don't have answers to at this point.
Do you feel that...
Can you describe the moments in that shootout outside the movie theater? Can you describe that shootout? How long did it last? Did the shooter have a chance to look? Was he saying anything to the officers that were there?
Again, you know, all that is still under investigation. There are some videos that are out there, but I'm not going to get into that incident at this point.
For this point of order, we're gonna call on people to raise their hand, and then we'll call on you.
Chief Turkey, there was also another crime scene we responded to in front of Rattler Stadium where an eyewitness told us that a blue pickup truck was shot by police officers and that it was involved in a chase earlier that evening. Do we know if that scene is connected to the shooting that happened earlier today? And if not, can you still tell us what happened in that situation?
I have no information about the incident that you're talking about.
What was the firearm in the shooting and how did the suspect obtain it?
Okay, the firearm was an AR type weapon, and as far as how he obtained it, that is still under investigation.
Why did you make the stop in the first place? Why did you stop in the first place?
He stopped for a simple traffic violation.
By
of-
DPS.
By DPS for failed to signal required distance.
Do you have any criminal
What?
record?
I'm sorry?
Criminal record?
He's got, I believe there is some criminal record attached to his driver's license that I'm sure that'll surface later.
Is the suspect
Right
from
here,
Odessa?
right here.
Question for the governor. By coincidence today, a bunch of new gun laws went into effect in Texas that a lot of people see as weakening gun laws in Texas. What do you say to people who look at that and wonder if Texas is going the wrong direction to stopping more shootings?
Well, for example, one of the laws that went into effect, and some deal with issues like this, and that is laws that ensure that school marshals, more school marshals will be able to have guns to keep schools safer. So some of these laws were enacted for the purpose of making our community safer.
Is Texas doing enough to restrict guns like AR-15?
Well, what we have been doing, especially in the aftermath of the shooting in El Paso, we've been meeting daily, in part with members of the legislature, in part with victims, in part with members of the community, in part with our federal counterparts. And we've been hammering out on a daily basis new additional solutions that we will be working to offer up, some by the governor, some by the executive branch, some by the legislature. But these will be new and different solutions that will work to de-escalate gun violence in Texas.
Does it increase the sense of urgency to have 2 incidents like this within a month?
Absolutely.
Is the suspect from Odessa? Is the suspect from Odessa?
The suspect has an Ector County address.
In the front and last. Go ahead, sir.
Sir, do you know any reason why the subject would have been resistant to being stopped, for example, whether outstanding warrants or unresolved criminal matters with him, as far as you know?
As far as I know, there were no active warrants.
Can you walk us through the timeline of who we got him?
No, we can't actually, because it's a very chaotic situation when these things happen, and that is all being pieced together as we speak.
Governor, one of the things that you said is that we're supposed action. One of the things that unified the shootings that you just mentioned, down Sutherland Springs, El Paso, Odessa, is an AR-style rifle. Is it time to ban these kinds of weapons? Yes, sir.
This is the kind of thing that legislators are already talking about. It's one of the topics that was raised during the roundtable discussions that we had in El Paso. I do want to point out, however, I was going to say, I do want to point out, however, that some of the shootings have not involved AR. It's very important to understand that the shooting that took place at Santa Fe High School did not. The largest, they involved a shotgun and a handgun, as well as IED. The largest mass shooting we had in the state of Texas was at Luby's in Central Texas, involved only handguns. So I'm telling you that we're going to look, let me just answer your question. We're going to look at every issue. There's no issue that we will not look at. And we're going to be working with legislators to find out what the best solutions are for Texas.
I would shake your hand, but I would wager to say that every law enforcement officer behind you would say that they would rather go up against a person with a handgun, gentlemen, ladies, rather than someone with an assault rifle. Is that correct?
And the people we also talk to are law enforcement officers.
We have several crime scenes throughout the city.
Yes.
Do you believe that deaths happen at each one, or are they all going to be exhausted throughout the investigation? I know it's chaotic, and obviously some of those that were injured died overnight. So which ones specifically do you consider to be the deadly scenes, or all of them being processed?
All scenes are being processed. Again, well over 15 scenes. It takes time to process that many scenes.
And with someone who has AR and a car like that, is that a concern that maybe you guys stopped him from actually committing a mass shooting, or, was there any type of indication that maybe
You know, there's no way of knowing without talking to him, and we can't talk to him. But again, he showed up at a movie theater, which would tend to show his motives.
We're gonna go over the last three questions. We're gonna go with the lady in the green shirt, the man in the green shirt, and the gray shirt behind him, and that'll be done. Go ahead, Pat.
Yes, sir. First and foremost, thank you guys for everything you've done. I know there's no perfect answer as far as how to combat these particular mass shootings because they're unpredictable. But we spoke with a man yesterday who was a person that was in the theater during the whole evacuation process. He was disturbed and he was wondering, is there a reason why an evacuation was initiated rather than a lockdown? And will this, I guess, help you guys in the future make those types of decisions?
The situation was so fluid. At that point, this person was driving from location to location to location to location. Lockdown, evacuation, two sides of the same coin, I think. You just don't have enough personnel to lock down every location in this city. You just don't. So you do the best you can with the personnel you have, and that's why we had people there at Synergy. And I think, again, lockdown, evacuation, either way could have.
During that time, did you guys lose him while he was doing what he was doing?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Earlier yesterday, you said that there was a person that you knew who it was. And was there a reason why you knew who it was? Did something happen like earlier that day that you were tipped off on? Because you said something yesterday that it was a guy who you knew that you were looking for. There was a certain guy that you were.
No, I think maybe you've misunderstood what I was saying yesterday. What I was saying yesterday was that when the suspect was down, we had a good idea of who he was at that time, and that we just had not totally identified him yet. That's why we wouldn't release that until we had an absolute stone cold identification on him. That's what I was saying.
Last question.
Two-part question for Christopher with FBI. You guys have a team over in West Odessa right now responding to a home search warrant. They've met into the home. What can you tell us about their investigation? How is it related to the suspect or anyone else in this investigation?
I can tell you we're executing a federally authorized search warrant at this point in time. As we also described, there's over 15 crime scenes. So frankly, we're all over the place here in Odessa with DPS, the Rangers, and the Odessa Police. So I would say all day today and probably all day tomorrow, you're going to see significant police and FBI activity throughout the city.
And Governor, when it comes to you saying that you've been too many of these, you're quoted as saying, I am tired of people dying. Based off what the FBI is saying statistically that they're responding to these kind of situations every 2 weeks, what can you say to the people of Texas that you might have to be in front of them again 2 weeks from now as a call for action regarding gun control drills? What can you say to the people to calm down?
First, from the response side, at the state level, we have a sense of urgency to arrive at solutions, working together with the legislature, working together with our law enforcement officers and federal partners. And we are working quickly to hammer out some solutions, to put some solutions on the table. Second, importantly, is the way that our law enforcement responds. They work 24/7 to make sure that their communities are safe as possible. And you can see the dedication that they have, and they will be doing the same to replicate that effort in every community across the entire state of Texas.
Thanks, guys. We got to run.
Thank you. Keep looking at press conference. You thank y'all for coming.
Thank you guys so much. Have a blessed one.
We're not going to answer any further questions.
Thank you, guys.
See my microphone.
Chief.